Are you a people pleaser or not? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about if some of you might identify right away as a people pleaser, if you've heard of that term, and some of you maybe not have heard of that term or don't identify. I didn't identify as a people pleaser until way later in retrospect, and I realized, holy cow, this is what nearly killed my own relationship. So I wanted to open it up for you to be able to think about today of being a people pleaser. Now, I tend to think of people pleasers, I don't know, get in your own mind what that looks like to you, but I think of people pleasers as being very nice and sweet and like say yes to everything and do all the things, right? This is not who I am. If I was to have my obituary written ahead of time, right? If you've ever seen TV shows where they do that and, somebody thinks that there's been an announcement that they died and then everybody's writing their obituary or whatnot. Anyhow, I don't think mine would say that she's sweet and nice and the friendliest person ever. I'm a little blunt. I'm definitely opinionated and I rocked my own world quite a bit in many, many ways. I think as a lifetime entrepreneur, that's kind of goes with my flow. And even the way my spouse and I, right, have our relationship, have our made up our own last name. That was not a pleaser to my father-in-law when we got married. And a lot of people, we craft this life, like we're in the fire service life so that we can have this creative and interesting and different life, pulled our kids out of school. I'm not worried about my kids take those standardized tests. Like I have a lot of ways that I don't show up as a people pleaser. So that's why I find this concept really interesting. Here's what a people pleaser is about. So see if you see yourself at all in this. Being a people pleaser is when you are getting your emotional goodness. You're like seeing your value in the world by how other people act or by what other people's opinions are of you. And maybe it's the opinions that they actually share out loud with you, or maybe it's the opinions. Here's the real big ones, the opinions that you think they have about you. And that's really the tricky part right there is that you go out in the world and you do something and somebody has a reaction or their own action and you make it mean something about what they think about you. So let me give you a little example. That might have been a little confusing. Multiple layers that are going on, which is what relationships are and why relationships are so tricky. And it's so useful to get some space from a relationship and have somebody help you look from the outside. But let's give a little example here of people pleasing. So when my spouse goes on shift, and for a long time, they were on a 48-hour shift, so gone for 2 days. And I would organize the house in the way that I liked it and hunker down for taking care of both kids and doing all the running around and the work, going to work and eat whatever kind of worked for the kids and stuff like that. And I'd really focus in and work really hard during that time. But it was kind of a bit relaxed and easy. There were some things that were very hard about that time because I had 2 little kids and 2 little kids can be hard. And there was a lot of running around and whatnot. But there also was something easy about it. And so when my spouse comes home from shift, of course, happy to see them. And there would be a slight change in my energy because I wanted to make things right for them. Clean up the house, make a meal. Like usually my meals were more of a coherent meal when on the days that they were off shift, not the like cereal in front of the couch kind of meal, which is fine. There's not a problem in it, but there's a change of energy in there that was really about trying to make my partner feel a particular way so that I would know I was a good spouse. I was a good partner. And the tricky part is is that he had to act in a particular way back to me in order for me to feel good. So if he came home and was tired or had a bad shift or just had some human emotion that was not necessarily positive, that would up my ante of trying to make things right and trying to make things good and trying to please my partner so that I would feel better. And it was in tiny, tiny micro steps of this because, of course, in any relationship, you do want to make things so it's set up so it's easy for the other person and you have an enjoyable time together and you're not going to serve, oh, let's just say stuffed bell peppers, my least favorite meal that I was stunned my mother made for me when I came home from college one time. What? How could she make my very least favorite meal? But, you do like to do nice things for your partner, right? And so they can feel good with it and feel appreciated and these sorts of things. But it's when our intrinsic view of ourself starts to change because of the way the other person is acting or not acting with our efforts to make life pleasant for them, to please them. And it's not something that I could see at first, but over time, dichotomy between, oh, okay, I'm just on my own and I'm taking care of the kids and I can hunker down and do this and feel good about myself, and the time of never quite getting it right. And I would say this to him. I would say, I'm tired of always disappointing you and not getting it right. But I didn't realize until much later that he never said those words to me. Those were just words that I said to him. This was a clue I didn't know at that time of the thing called people pleasing. This is also a very dangerous place to go in a relationship to get your sense of value, sense of self-worth, sense of feeling good by what your partner is doing, because it feels terrible to them as well. It doesn't allow them the space to have their full human emotional life, to feel happy and to feel sad and to feel disappointed and to feel grateful. There's a certain performativeness that they need to take on for you to be okay. And so we end up spinning in these little circles. I always see like cogs of a machinery influencing each other, right? One person is trying to please the other person is trying to act happy so that the first person can feel good. This is where we get ourselves into not a very people-pleasing situation, but it's caused by this idea of being a people pleaser, of wanting the other person to have a particular emotional reaction for us to feel our own self-worth and value and goodness and contribution to a relationship, that the other person has to act in a particular way for us to feel good. So take a look at this and just see. The other side of this would be to say that each person coming to the relationship gets to feel good and gets to feel bad. They get to have their own human emotions, and they each get to contribute to the relationship, whatever it is they want to contribute. And there is value just in being in that space together, that you don't have to contribute a particular thing. You don't have to make every meal to be valuable, or to have the house a certain way, or to have the children be acting a particular way, or for you to show up in a particular way to have value. I have a cousin who's got a grandbaby who has a particular, I want to say disease, but disease isn't quite the word, but she was born with a particular genetic condition. So she is profoundly disabled. She doesn't speak, she doesn't walk, she will never be independent human being. And I was having a conversation with my older child and just about work in the world and what we contribute, and we each contribute to the level of which we have the capability of contributing. And we were talking about this little girl, and this beautiful little girl. And my child said, well, her purpose in the world is so that her parents can love her, so they can feel love. She is there so people can love. That is her purpose in the world. She has value, even though she cannot. Most things that we do as humans, she is not able to do. She is not physically able to do. But she still contributes a huge value. I see my cousin's posts about this child and how much they love her and how hard she works to be able to smile or to open her eyes. This is how profound her disability is, that it takes her a ton of effort to do these things, and that her family gets to be there and just love her and feel love. And what an amazing contribution that is to the world for her to be there for people to love. This is who we are in our relationships, that our spouse is there. We are there for our spouse to have value just as you are, to be loved and to give love. It's not about expecting the other person to act or be in a certain way to tell you whether or not you have value, but to have that value and contribution come from within you. And that really comes from a sense of self-love and self-care and being responsible for our own thoughts and feelings in the world, and letting our partner be responsible for their thoughts and feelings in the world. We come together and we do things that we both enjoy and are satisfying and pleasing to each other, but our value is not dependent on them. This is a tricky one. It can be a sneaky one, but it's really is something that adds up over time. And our relationships, our goal generally is for them to last over time. So just start with finding that love in yourself, being stronger and more aware of your own responsibility for your own feelings, that you're going to have good ones and bad ones. And it's just being honest to own, oh, I'm feeling badly because I feel like I have a narrative that says I'm constantly failing you. They may or may not have that narrative. And if they do have that narrative, it doesn't mean it's correct. Loving yourself, loving your partner in whatever their emotional state is, and sharing that experience together. This is what makes a beautiful and wonderful and growing relationship. All right, you guys, I love you. Continue to be committed and be present. Show up with curiosity for love for yourself and for your spouse. See you next time. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.